I'm the villainess, but I've given up. Because whenever I work hard, the heroine gains a beauty boost. Well then, I'll focus on slacking off. Soon enough, the heroine will be hideous. Chapter 1. I accidentally discovered this. Whenever I stayed up late and worked hard, Lily would glow radiantly. But whenever I slacked off or procrastinated, Lily's complexion would turn dull. To test this, I deliberately slacked for an entire week. I even handed over the project closure report to someone else entirely. The result, Lily's face grew increasingly dull, acne broke out, and her overall beauty took a nosedive. This discovery thrilled me. As the villainess, I actually had the power to control the protagonist's looks. If used well, this ability could absolutely lead to a tragic ending for the leading couple. Thinking back to our first day as interns, Lily, in her striking red dress, stood out among the group like a shining star, exuding a protagonist's glow. At that moment, I couldn't help but marvel at her beauty. She truly fit the vivid beauty protagonist archetype. But now, just 1 week of my slacking had stripped her of that glow. She looked completely wilted. Still, the protagonist is the protagonist. Despite her haggard appearance, her boyfriend Victor and her secret admirer Paul continued to show up outside our office one after the other, bringing her fruit, flowers, and words of comfort. "Olivia, quick, Lily's suitor is here again." A colleague tugged me over to the window to watch the show. Downstairs, Paul was looking at Lily's dull complexion with a face full of concern. Even though Lily was already dating Victor, the way she interacted with Paul was suspiciously intimate. Wasn't she supposed to be a bold and straightforward protagonist? Had her character setting collapsed? I casually enjoyed the gossip and was about to return to my desk to slack off when I bumped into Lily, who was coming back with some things in her hand. Villainous effort level below 10%, unable to convert beauty points. After brushing against Lily's arm, I heard this robotic voice. I quickly adjusted my smile and returned to my desk, slowly pondering what I'd just heard. Was the villainous effort level directly correlated to beauty points? As a transmigrator, I knew that villainous equals me and beauty points equals Lily's appearance. So it turned out that my slacking affected Lily's looks because of this mysterious system. I had thought this was merely a novel's plot setup, but I hadn't expected there to be an actual system behind it. Chapter 2. I never wanted to get involved with the protagonist group in the first place, so I had never done any of the malicious things the original villainess was supposed to do. But Lily always targeted me. She would suppress me while simultaneously trying to provoke my fighting spirit. Now I understood, it was for her own beauty. But all I wanted was to live my own life. After experimenting a few times by alternating between slacking and working hard, I began to grasp some of the rules governing the system tied to Lily. The effort level was calculated weekly, which meant Lily's appearance also changed on a weekly basis. Lily's beauty is directly proportional to my level of effort. What kind of disgusting setup is this? I work hard, and Lily gets to look prettier. What am I, a beauty serum? Before I could figure out if this setting on Lily could be undone, the male lead, Victor, showed up with Lily in tow, his arm protectively wrapped around her. "Lily, I admit I once liked Olivia, but now you're the only one in my heart. Please stop being jealous of someone irrelevant." Is this novel all about romance? Victor is such a love-struck fool, can't the author rein him in? There are 40 or 50 people in this office area. Is this really the right place for you two to flaunt your love? I was annoyed. These two don't even consider the occasion. Victor's pointed remarks had officially pinned me as the third wheel in their grand love story. Do they think I'll stay silent if I don't stir the pot? Fine, but if I start acting like a true villainess, their happy ever after might not be so certain. Olivia, don't think you can attract my attention with this behavior. I prefer girls like Lily, strong and independent, not a delicate flower like you. Victor declared, his tone dripping with condescension. His attempt to insult me was so absurd that I couldn't help but laugh. This guy must have grown up in a deep fryer because he's dripping in grease. Listen, Lily's dear boyfriend. First, I don't know you. Second, I don't like dogs. And third, I wish you two everlasting happiness. Before I ended up in this novel, I was a stand-up comedian. Not a famous one, sure, but I've got a knack for sharp sarcasm. Chapter 3. After saying my piece, I left before they could react. Lunchtime was calling. But even in the cafeteria, peace was hard to come by. A colleague asked me, "Olivia, do you really not know Lily's boyfriend? Then why were they blocking your way?" Everyone around perked up, eager to hear my answer. I really don't know him. But judging by what he said earlier, he's probably some secret admirer of mine. I replied with a light laugh, dimples flashing. I knew I looked my best with that expression. Would you bother remembering someone unimportant? My colleague shook her head and dropped the subject. I decided my priority was to figure out the whole Lily's beauty depends on my effort situation. As for the romance between the male and female leads, I had no interest in getting involved, provided they left me alone. But Lily wouldn't stop provoking me. She frequently brought me up in front of our supervisor, praising my abilities and subtly hinting that he should assign me more work. I suspected that Lily was getting anxious because her beauty score had been dropping so much lately. I also hypothesized that once her beauty points reached a certain level, her appearance might no longer depend on me. Perhaps that's why, in the original story, she let the second male lead target me without worrying about her looks being affected by my downfall. "Hey, Olivia, did you know Lily has connections? The supervisor is her boyfriend's uncle," one of the interns whispered to me. Her proposal for the paid channel placements was so easy even a dog could have come up with it, but the supervisor still praised it to the skies, she added, sounding indignant, probably because her own proposal had been rejected. Of course I knew. After all, I had read the book. I also knew that Paul, the persistent admirer who wouldn't take no for an answer despite Lily having a boyfriend, was the psychotic second male lead, and in the original story, he had set me up, ruined my reputation, and driven me to take my own life. Chapter 4. Recently, Lily's beauty has improved slightly. With the help of makeup, she managed to regain about 70% of her former glow. The main credit went to me, with some indirect credit to our supervisor, who kept assigning me more work. Every now and then, I'd brush against Lily and hear that robotic voice giving me updates. Villainous effort level, 30%. Beauty points +3. Host's total beauty score, 65. Villainous effort level, 50%. Beauty points +5. Host's total beauty score, 70. Villainous effort level, 70%. Beauty points +7. Host's total beauty score, 75. After a month of working 18 days of overtime, Lily's beauty score reached 98. People are visual creatures. Victor started picking her up from work a lot more frequently, but Lily was insatiable. She dumped the entire task of reconciling project data onto me alone. The data was incredibly complex, and we only had 1 week left until the project presentation. It was obvious. Lily was betting that I'd work overtime to finish the data, helping her push her beauty score to 100. Maybe once her score hit 100, my slacking or effort would no longer affect her appearance. Before transmigrating, I had mocked this novel for how the protagonists constantly prioritized their love lives over everything else. Like now, this project might not have been huge, but it was a trial run from a major client. The final data and presentation were crucial for assessing potential future collaborations. But the female lead, obsessed with boosting her beauty, had convinced the supervisor to assign a workload meant for 3 people to me alone. It seemed the lack of brains was genetic. And as the head of a department, the supervisor's nepotistic decision-making only made things worse. Fortunately, they were dealing with me, someone who preferred to take the high road while squashing petty schemes. Most importantly, I was someone who liked to use magic to fight magic. So, I hired someone to do the data reconciliation for me. Chapter 5. Many hands make light work. Thanks for your help, supper is ready, come eat. I paused the drama on my screen and motioned for the busy workers to come over and dig in. Looking at the detailed data sheets and the high-quality presentation slides on my laptop, I couldn't help but marvel at the power of money. Everything was sorted out in one night. This all-in-one service was something the male lead had discovered in the original novel, an absolutely confidential service you could purchase with money. Sure, reconciling the data was pricey, but my dad's rich, so who cares? Over the next few days, I spent my time binge-watching dramas and reading novels, all while watching Lily smugly prepare for her big presentation. Lily, your boyfriend drives a Porsche when he picks you up. He must be a rich second generation, right? I'm so jealous of you, a colleague gushed. Lily pursed her lips modestly. What I value is his character and ability. He built his business on his own. He's not some trust fund baby. Her response earned even more flattering comments from the group. I, meanwhile, continued reading on my phone, only half listening. That's why, when Lily suddenly brought me up, I almost missed it. But everything I wear and use is earned through my own hard work. I never rely on my boyfriend's money. Unlike Olivia, who was clearly born with a silver spoon in her mouth. Isn't that right, Olivia? I tilted my head in confusion. Was something wrong with this girl? Lily, you must really love drinking hot water. I said with a lazy stretch, blinking innocently at her. Because only hot water can brew tea as strong as you. Lily shot to her feet. Olivia, I may speak my mind, but I never mean to offend. If I've said something wrong, I apologize, but we're colleagues, there's no need to be so harsh. I propped my chin on my hand, unimpressed. Girl, there's a difference between being straightforward and being passive-aggressive. Look it up in a dictionary. Lily didn't respond, storming off to the restroom with her defiant ponytail swaying behind her. All I can say is, when it comes to verbal sparring, I never lose. Chapter 6. My good mood lasted only until the end of the workday, because the second male lead, Paul, showed up. In the original novel, Paul's introduction to me involved him retrieving my stolen bag from a thief. If I hadn't read the story, I never would have guessed that this sunny, wholesome-looking guy was Lily's devoted simp. A psychotic simp, to be exact, the kind who would bang his head against a wall for Lily. The next steps were predictable. He'd gain my trust, get me drunk, and then leave me with a beggar. All because I supposedly wanted to ruin the relationship between the male and female leads, and Lily had cried to him about it. Now, though, was this all because I had beaten Lily in a verbal sparring match? Lily really had a fragile ego. And she was so eager to destroy me that she didn't seem to care whether my despair might make me stop working, which would affect her beauty score. Doesn't that suggest that once her beauty score hits 100, my efforts, or lack thereof, won't impact her anymore? But what if her score drops too low? Be careful from now on. Paul said, snapping me out of my thoughts as he handed me my little bag. His white teeth gleamed. He probably eats a lot of meat. I waved him off. Thanks, but I have a germ phobia. Could you throw it away for me? Ever since I realized I was the villainess, I've only carried bags that cost less than 3 figures. I also don't put anything valuable in them, just in case I needed to act like this in front of Paul. Paul admired Lily's strong and resilient persona. So I crafted an image of a neurotic, delicate germaphobe. Sure enough, my unusual response left Paul at a loss for words. I pulled a 100 yuan bill from my pocket and placed it in his hand. Thanks, and goodbye. As I walked toward the crosswalk, blending into the crowd, I heard a soft chuckle behind me. Laugh all you want, Paul. If you find me interesting, then that's perfect. I'm a fair person, but I also believe in swift retribution. So, Paul, you better not try anything foolish. Because, in addition to being ridiculously strong, I also happen to be trained in martial arts. Knocking out a grown man isn't exactly hard for me. And, of course, there's always the option of solving things with money. Chapter 7. Olivia, why are you smiling like a sly fox? What kind of wicked idea are you cooking up now? I was just contemplating whether to hire someone to keep an eye on Paul when my mom suddenly barged into my room, startling me. Mom, you didn't even knock. Your dad said the shortlist for the Outstanding Intern Award has been submitted, and guess what? You're not on it. My mom was here to laugh at me because I'd made a bet with my dad that I'd win the company's Outstanding Intern Award. If I won, my allowance would double. I had joined the company fully prepared to outwork every other intern to death. But after discovering that my hard work directly boosted the female lead's beauty score, I'd given up on that bet. After all, I'm already surrounded by the protagonist squad. Of course, my parents don't know they're in a novel. So, I put on my best pouty face, whined to my mom about how hard work life is, and successfully got my monthly allowance raised by another 100,000 yuan. Peace of mind. That should be enough. At first, I considered asking my dad to step in and humiliate them. After all, he's the company's vice president. For someone like that incompetent supervisor, Losing his job would be as easy as snapping fingers. And if he were gone, he wouldn't be able to tip off Victor about projects as he does in the original novel, which indirectly helped Victor's startup take off. But after discovering I could influence Lily's beauty, I revised my plans. Since Victor and Lily are so in love, let's see how their romance holds up when money and beauty are no longer on their side. According to the plot, Victor is currently at a critical stage in his startup journey. The turning point comes when Paul's family offers him a project collaboration. In the novel, Paul facilitated the connection. Honestly, this psychotic second male lead treats the protagonist a bit too well. But what if Paul's family abandons him? Would Victor still be able to hitch a ride on that ship and transform into the next big success story? I don't plan to do anything, for now, at least, as long as they don't provoke me. Chapter 8. It was Friday, and Lily was pestering me for the data she needed to finalize her presentation PPT. I typed furiously in our group chat, putting on an extremely stressed expression. I'll definitely get it to you before the end of the day. I'm barely sleeping 4 hours a night as it is, please stop rushing me. Lily smiled sympathetically. A young woman should be ambitious. If you slack off now, you'll regret it in the future. She donned her "I'm doing this for your own good" expression and continued, pouring out her motivational cliches. One day, you'll thank your hardworking self for all the effort you're putting in now. I was growing annoyed. Poisonous pep talks like this were usually my specialty, not something I had to endure from others. You're absolutely right, I replied, smiling sweetly. Women shouldn't just be ambitious, they should also be compassionate. Every fish in the pond deserves care and love, wouldn't you agree? I know how to play the word game too, nobody's walking away with the upper hand here. After catching up on all the new episodes of my favorite dramas, I finally sent Lily the data I had outsourced last Monday. Lily looked at me with a faintly meaningful expression. Thanks for your hard work. Once the Monday presentation is over, the supervisor said we'll go out for dinner as a team. I had a reasonable suspicion this dinner would involve Paul making an appearance. But I was far more curious about how much Lily's beauty score would drop come Monday morning. After all, I hadn't done any real work all week. I spent 18,000 yuan, let's see how much uglier it can make her. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see Lily on Monday. Lily's been hospitalized, announced our supervisor during the morning meeting. Olivia, you'll be handling the presentation today. Lily said she already sent you the PPT. With only half an hour left until the presentation, everyone turned sympathetic eyes toward me. Even though the success of our partnership with the client didn't entirely depend on the presenter was usually the one left to take the blame if things went south. And, of course, Lily hadn't sent me any PPT. So much for the resilient female lead. If I hadn't outsourced the work last week, I'd never be able to throw together a decent presentation in just 30 minutes. Chapter 9. I overestimated Lily's sense of responsibility. She outright abandoned the project at such a critical time, completely disregarding the outcome. I sent Lily countless messages asking her to share the presentation PPT. I even called her, but she didn't respond. When I informed the supervisor, his only response was, "You two handle it between yourselves." I saved all these interactions, screenshots of unanswered messages, call logs, and even a recording of the supervisor assigning all the data work to me. I paired this with photos of Victor casually entering and leaving the supervisor's office, compiled everything into a file, and sent it to the company's compliance department. It was a formal, real-name report accusing the supervisor of compromising the company's interests to benefit his nephew. Everyone in the department knew about the supervisor's greed. He wasn't bold enough to openly accept bribes but loved taking small advantages. A compliance investigation would surely uncover his misdeeds. Delivering a presentation in front of 50 people wasn't a challenge for me. However, when I saw Paul among the client representatives, it all clicked. That's why they chose such an outdated proposal. Paul seemed disappointed that Lily wasn't there. When I stepped up to present, his lips curled into a smirk, like a cat spotting its favorite toy. I kept my expression neutral, my gaze calm. After all, who remembers a random stranger who once helped recover a stolen bag? The presentation went smoothly. The client agreed to continue the partnership. Everyone was thrilled, our hard work had paid off. So when Lily showed up at dinner wearing a mask, Apologizing for missing the presentation due to her illness, everyone welcomed her warmly. Chapter 10. Thank you so much, Olivia. I'm sorry for the trouble. I had an allergic reaction and couldn't check my messages. You must have worked really hard to prepare the presentation slides, Lily said. I was too busy devouring my meal to care and just nodded slightly. Preparing the slides wasn't hard at all. It was collecting evidence of your and the supervisor's blatant disregard for professionalism that took effort. Olivia, you managed to prepare such a quality presentation in just half an hour. That's impressive, Lily said, standing next to me. She seemed like she was about to sit down, but then changed her mind and turned away. Actually, I'd better stay away from Olivia. After all, I interacted with her on Friday about the data, and by Saturday, I had an allergic reaction. I sighed and casually reached out to touch her arm. Side character effort level below 5%. Beauty value randomly reduced. Host's total beauty score, 65. Why doesn't my effort level go into the negatives? Does hiring someone else to do the work still count as effort? Olivia, why aren't you saying anything? Shouldn't you be grateful to Lily for giving you such a great opportunity to shine? The supervisor adjusted the few strands of hair on his head and stared at me. These two. One was insinuating that I caused her allergy on purpose, and the other outright claimed that I orchestrated everything just to take the spotlight. So basically, they wanted everyone to think that I, Olivia, would harm a colleague just for a chance to stand out. And their evidence? The fact that I prepared a stellar presentation in just 30 minutes and that Lily showed up with a mask on her face. Supervisor, isn't it strange that Lily, as an intern, visits your office 8 times a day? And even uses her lunch break to go there. I said, wiping my mouth and looking at him. If you're going to make me talk, then get ready. The supervisor froze, startled by my words. The office went completely silent as my colleagues exchanged uneasy glances. Chapter 11. Even though Lily's boyfriend and the supervisor are uncle and nephew, Lily's good looks and the supervisor's questionable morals inevitably fueled the office rumor mill. People always like to gossip in the darkest possible directions, speculating about the inappropriate closeness between Lily and the supervisor. Of course, no one would dare bring this up in public. Well, that's because Lily is extraordinarily capable, sacrificing her break time to work in your office. Isn't that right, supervisor? Seeing that neither Lily nor the supervisor had reacted, I decided to help explain the situation for them. The supervisor, nervously wiping his sweat, nodded and attempted to steer everyone back to eating and drinking. But I stood up. So, let's lay everything out clearly, shall we? For example, which hospital is Lily staying at? Is this allergic reaction real, or did she bail at the last minute? And what about intentionally withholding the presentation content from me and disregarding the project outcome? Is that an ethical lapse or incompetence? My previous life as a stand-up comedian always made me sprinkle a bit of humor into my speeches. As I was considering a clever way to wrap things up, the door to the private room was flung open and Victor barged in. Enough, Olivia. Stop targeting Lily. I will never like you. The male lead. Only he could turn a workplace dispute into a melodrama about love with a single sentence. Sir, I said, staring at him. Take some time to read a book or two instead of spending your days foraging for wild plants. The room grew awkwardly silent as Lily lowered her head, adopting an appearance of meekness. When someone as seemingly strong as Lily shows vulnerability, it must tug at a man's heartstrings even harder. True to form, Victor ignored my retort and immediately went to wrap his arms around Lily. Olivia, if there's a conflict at work, we can talk it out, but please don't let your personal feelings make you speak out of turn. Lily, despite wearing her mask, spoke with resolute strength. Perhaps Victor's love emboldened her to clap back at me. Or maybe it was Paul, quietly standing at the door and watching the drama unfold, that gave her a sense of performance flair. Chapter 12. Olivia, you're new to the workplace and there's still a lot for you to learn. Come on, 3 self-punishment drinks as an apology and we'll let this go, the supervisor said, puffing out his belly as he tried to mediate. My colleague beside me tugged at my sleeve, signaling that I should seize the opportunity to step down gracefully. For a powerless little intern to speak so recklessly, it did seem a bit naive and audacious. But I'm different. I'm the slacker Villainess. I've been waiting for this kind of slacker opportunity. All right then, here's to Lily. Wishing you a swift return to your former beauty, I said, raising my glass and walking toward her. Victor immediately stepped in front of her, as if afraid I was going to throw the drink at her. What's the matter? You won't even accept my blessing? Not even with tea instead of wine? I said, staring at Lily's masked face. Lily pulled down her mask briefly and took a quick sip of water. Under the light of the private room, the lower half of her face, fully exposed without the cover of bangs, came into view. Her complexion was a strange blend of red and purple, and her lips were slightly swollen. Since I was standing close, I noticed that beyond her skin, even her features had subtly changed. Her nose had flattened, the tip had become larger, and her eyes had lost their former sparkle. It seemed that the beauty points were more like a virtual beauty filter plastered onto her face. Now she was wearing a mask, probably hoping I'd start working hard so her beauty could return. Hey. Little does she know, I'm committed to slacking off indefinitely. All right then, I've delivered my blessing. I'll head out now. Enjoy the meal and drinks, everyone, I said cheerfully. Having confirmed Lily's condition and appearance, I grabbed my bag, ready to leave. After all, if I don't leave early, how will Paul get his chance to act? In the original plot, the Villainess was drunk and abandoned in a nearby alley after the group dinner. Now that Lily's beauty had dropped, I guessed she probably wouldn't instruct Paul to deal with me. Yet, despite my precautions, I was still knocked unconscious. When I woke up, the person who had helped me prepare the presentation was staring down at me. Chapter 13. Miss, if it involves a fight, you'll need to pay an additional 20,000 yuan, the man from the service team said. I rubbed the lump on the back of my head, took out my phone, and scanned the QR code to pay. And the others? I asked. Back in the private room, I had already contacted this team, spending 38,000 yuan to hire them for 8 days of protection. I specifically requested them to preserve evidence in case of incidents like being dumped in an alley and promised an additional bonus of 88,000 yuan if they caught the instigator. The 3 thugs in the alley have been tied up, along with a passerby. They're being questioned now, he reported. I held out my hand. Help me up, thanks. Miss, that costs extra, he replied matter-of-factly. Determined, I got up on my own. By the time I reached the alley, I saw Paul sitting against the wall, hands and feet bound, looking utterly disheveled. Here, scan this and pay. I said cheerfully to the service team. You're free to go. With a bright smile, I waved goodbye to the team, then turned and slapped Paul hard across the face. Paul, ruining a woman is easy, but ruining a man? Even easier. I said coldly. He seemed to want to protest. Miss, there's got to be some misunderstanding. I saw you knocked out, so I followed to try and save you. I had to admit, people with good looks could lie so convincingly that you'd almost believe them. But as someone who knew the original plot, I was well aware that the man before me, no matter how sincere he appeared, only had a conscience when it came to the female lead. How much did he pay you? I asked the 3 thugs huddled in the corner. I'll pay you double, but the target will be him instead. The 3 men, battered and bruised, instantly betrayed Paul without hesitation at the mention of double pay. I untied one of the thugs and gestured for him to approach Paul. Paul tried to escape, but I knocked him down and made sure he stayed put. Miss, this stuff right here, just 1 drop, and even a bowl will turn into a puddle of mush, one of the thugs said obsequiously, pulling out a small vial of clear liquid. It was probably some sort of illegal drug. Paul shouted and struggled, refusing, but he was force-fed 2 drops of the substance. The ensuing scene was unsightly, to say the least. I quickly recorded a few video clips and left in a hurry. Chapter 14. That night, news about young Master Paul being gay spread across all major online news platforms. Some gossipmongers speculated about Paul's lack of a girlfriend and his consistent support for Victor's business ventures. Even some simple-minded fans of good-looking CP, couple pairings, started shipping Paul and Victor as a romantic couple. The situation kept escalating, becoming more and more entertaining. The other young masters in Paul's family, none of whom were easy to deal with, took advantage of the rumors. Regardless of whether they were true or not, they fanned the flames. In a family with so many illegitimate children, eliminating one rival was always a win. To Paul's family, a tarnished illegitimate child wasn't worth protecting. Paul remained the sixth young master but was now completely excluded from the family business. Victor, eager to distance himself from the Paul rumors, posted a series of photos chronicling his relationship with Lily from the beginning of their courtship to the present. He even emphasized that they were childhood sweethearts with a stable relationship. However, among the gossipers, some started questioning Lily's fluctuating looks. Did this woman get plastic surgery? Why does she look pretty one moment and ugly the next? Probably Photoshop. A professional confirmed there's no evidence of Photoshop in these photos. While these discussions didn't cause much of a stir, Victor and Lily weren't celebrities, just attractive young professionals. These comments would likely sow seeds of doubt in Victor's mind and intensify Lily's desperation to improve her looks. Sure enough, when I got to work the next day, the supervisor dumped a mountain of tasks on me. For the first time, Lily brought me a cup of coffee. "Olivia, I know I've made mistakes in the past and I hope you won't hold a grudge. After all, we still have to work together," she said. The art of language, designed to provoke my rebellious nature. "I'm sorry, but no," I said. "I'm petty and have an excellent memory." Lily's masked face betrayed a flicker of impatience in her eyes. "You need to understand," she said, her tone condescending. "A higher rank crushes those beneath it. You'll have to learn to compromise eventually." I pushed the stack of files on my desk to the side. "Oh no, I'm so scared. So scared I can't even work." What Lily didn't know was that the company had already launched an investigation into the supervisor. Her so-called higher rank wouldn't be suppressing anyone for much longer. Chapter 15. When the supervisor's office was investigated, Lily and Victor happened to be inside. Of course, I believe there was no romantic relationship between the supervisor and Lily, but Victor's startup operated in the same industry as the company. While it didn't pose direct competition, the investigators were sharp. Aside from the supervisor's habit of pocketing small benefits, his interactions with Victor and Lily, combined with their romantic relationship, would make the investigation dig deeper into whether he had leaked company secrets. Regardless of the outcome, the supervisor wouldn't be retained and he might even face legal consequences. The supervisor was taken to the top floor to assist with the investigation. Lily, looking distraught, returned to her desk and turned to me. "Was it you who reported this?" "Was it?" "It must have been you, you wicked woman. Lily, you were the one who said a higher rank crushes those below it. I just couldn't learn to compromise, so I decided to tidy up the workplace a bit." Our colleagues gathered around to gossip about the investigation, paying no attention to our conversation. "Olivia, then you better work hard and get a position of power if you really want to tidy up the workplace," Lily said, quickly regaining her composure and shifting her focus to motivating me again. This woman, Paul had lost his inheritance, Victor's business had suffered setbacks, and the supervisor had been taken away for investigation, yet all she cared about was her own face. How could someone so self-centered, with no sense of the bigger picture, and a mind consumed only by looks and love, claim the role of a strong female protagonist? This was the core reason I had criticized this novel so much in my previous life. Having experienced it up close now, I realized Lily was even more selfish than I'd imagined. "I'm a rich kid. Why should I work hard?" I asked with a smirk. Lily seemed genuinely upset by my words. "How can you be so lazy? Don't you want to prove your abilities to your parents?" I leaned back in my chair, tilting my head slightly to look at her anxious face. "My parents don't care about me. Why are you so worried? Stressing too much will make you uglier, you know." Chapter 16. Perhaps my words during the day had struck a nerve with Lily because that evening, I ran into Paul again. This time, he looked like a complete wreck, lying in the arms of two scantily clad women, his face devoid of the smug arrogance he once had. "Olivia, are you enjoying yourself lately?" he asked, his voice laced with mockery. I was unimpressed. This guy was still trying to play the brooding villain. "If you've got something to say, say it. Stop wasting my time." Paul straightened up, his expression darkening into a twisted smile. "Olivia, I didn't mess with you because Lily told me you were still useful. But having some fun shouldn't interfere with her plans, right?" His words were explicit, and he began walking toward me. He must have assumed I was just some girl with a few self-defense classes under her belt. But I was in a hurry to get home for dinner, so I used my full strength. Within moments, I had Paul pinned under my foot. You're so, Paul stammered, clearly bewildered. I kindly helped him out. I'm naturally strong. Oh, and later, when we're at the police station, do me a favor and cooperate. I'm really in a rush to eat. Paul was detained on suspicion of kidnapping me. While his family had the power to bail him out, I had already tipped off some tabloid reporters, ensuring the news would spread like wildfire. The public scrutiny would make it impossible for Paul to escape unscathed. This time, his family would abandon him completely. As for Victor, who was relying on Paul's help to secure a critical project and save his company, he was about to face the crushing blow of startup failure. I took a week off, citing my traumatic experience. My dad, aware of my recent antics, didn't ask too many questions. He simply told me, "Your mom and I are always here for you, no matter what." During that week, it was revealed that Paul had been using drugs and was sent to rehab. I suspected this turn of events was my dad's doing. I spent the week relaxing at home, indulging in my mom's wellness routines, and enjoying a serene, worry-free time. Chapter 17. Returning to the office, I noticed that Lily's face, aside from the mask, didn't seem to have changed much. But her gaze was unervingly intense, like a dog staring at a bone, making me uncomfortable. Seizing the opportunity, I reached out and touched her arm. Negative effort detected. System recalibrating to bind with a more suitable host. Lily and I both froze, hearing the mechanical voice simultaneously. "Olivia, what did you do? Why is the system changing hosts? Is it binding to you now?" Lily was hysterical, ignoring the curious looks from our colleagues, and jumped to her feet. "No wonder you look so good today. You're so selfish. Why should my hard work become your beauty capital?" Watching her meltdown, I reached out and yanked off her mask. "Are you scolding yourself? After all, your past beauty was thanks to my efforts." Lily froze, covering her face, and ran into the restroom. "Hello, prospective host. Would you like to bind with the beauty system? With Lily's efforts, you can effortlessly gain stunning looks." I could feel the system waiting for my consent as it chimed in my mind. "Get lost. I refuse." I controlled my thoughts to respond internally while saying aloud, "I don't agree. My beauty comes from my parents and my own self-care, not from any of Lily's so-called effort." Lily was soon fired for her lack of work ethic. She believed I had bound with the system and, convinced it was now benefiting me, decided to fully slack off. Previously, while I did slack off, I still ensured my tasks were handled either by paying colleagues or outsourcing to problem solvers like the jack of all trades. Lily, however, blatantly did nothing, and without the supervisor protecting her, she was fired in just 2 weeks. "Olivia, mark my words, I will never work hard again. You'll be ugly in no time," she sneered on her way out. Victor was waiting downstairs to pick her up. When he saw us standing together, his expression flickered with hesitation. Lily's appearance had reverted to a 65 out of 100, her natural face. It wasn't unattractive, but compared to her formerly stunning looks, the contrast was glaring. Lily had blamed allergies for her changes, but most of our colleagues assumed she had botched plastic surgery. Victor, who spent the most time with her, was undoubtedly the one most impacted by the change. For Lily, her face was her top priority, and when she noticed Victor looking at me, she immediately caused a scene. "Are you regretting being with me? I knew it. You're still hung up on your first love." I had no interest in listening to their argument and quietly walked away. Chapter 18. At the end of the month, the list of outstanding interns was released. 2 excellent employees from another team were selected. I finished my internship, declined the opportunity to become a full-time employee, and used my saved-up allowance to open a beauty salon. The next time I heard about Lily was from one of the beauticians at my salon. As I was reviewing the customer list, I noticed Lily's name. Out of curiosity, I casually asked to confirm if it was the Lily I knew. To my surprise, the beautician and the staff immediately started sharing gossip. "Boss, this Lily is famous at the beauty salons around here," one of the staff exclaimed, gesturing animatedly. According to them, Lily had brought her boyfriend's mother to a beauty salon to catch him cheating. Afterward, her boyfriend accused her of being lazy and a leech. Following a massive argument with her boyfriend, Lily started frequenting various beauty clinics and indulging in every beauty treatment available. Every time she recharges her membership, her boyfriend calls to yell at her, the beautician added. Do you remember her boyfriend's name? What was it again? I couldn't help but laugh. Victor. The staff nodded enthusiastically. Yes, that's it. Boss, you've heard about it too, huh? I didn't say much, only instructed them to treat Lily like any other customer and avoid gossiping. Lily, convinced I had bound with the system, decided to sabotage me by doing nothing, neither working nor putting in any effort. Her once pristine image as a strong, independent woman, the kind that initially attracted the male lead, was thoroughly ruined. Without Lily's support, Victor's business faced setbacks. Now confronted with a lazy, dependent, and no longer beautiful Lily, their relationship was fraught with conflicts. As for their situation, I chose not to pay any further attention. Instead, I focused on living my own life. Even if this was just a novel, I had finally gained a life of my own.